Good morning everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm here with, regular viewers will know who this is, Hugo. Yeah, I am bribing him to be in this video with doggy biscuits. Come here, what's this? I thought I would do a vlog today about if people are thinking of getting a dog. Most of my kind of viewers are mums, and I think it's a big question, isn't it, for a family about whether to get a dog or not. So I thought I would share my tips and my insight and the things that we've learned since we've had Hugo, who is a legend. Look, Hugo, who's that? Oh, the camera's not very well positioned. Hugo, say hello. Say hello. So the first thing to consider when you're getting a dog is that are you self-employed or are you working, or it's basically your job. You need to think about what type of job you have and whether that's going to be suitable for a dog. I know this sounds ridiculously obvious, but for me it's probably the most important, the first thing to think about. If you are self-employed now and you think, like I thought when we got Hugo, I will always be self-employed, do consider that at times in your life you may suddenly go, oh, I've just seen this amazing job and I want to go for it. You can't do that if you've got a dog, unless you're prepared for a family member or a dog sitter to come round and feed the dog and walk the dog. A dog, in my opinion, can't and shouldn't really be alone all day. So that is the biggest one to consider. If you're completely sure that one of you is always going to be home, or you have a really nice setup with someone, I don't know, you work part-time and the other times a mum or a granddad or nana can come round and walk the dog and see to the dog, then that could work too. So the first one to consider is the dog going to be on his own all day? The second one to consider is a big one, and it's walks. Walkies! He's just looking up. Walking a dog is most often it's an attractive idea. About one of the attractions of getting a dog is that you'll get out and walk and lose some weight and get healthier and get fitter. I know definitely for me it was a big draw. However, there are days when nobody wants to walk the dog, when everybody's tired, when everybody's sick. Maybe you were out the night before, you know, maybe the kids just can't be bothered. The kids often can't be bothered to walk the dog. The dog needs walking every day. We used to walk Hugo twice a day. Now I've changed it up because I just couldn't fit in 2 walks a day. So now I take him one time a day. I take him once a day, but a nice big walk once a day for about an hour. And we always make sure as well that he has a few balls thrown with my ball thrower in the back garden. We've got a really big garden, there's plenty of space for him to run around. You've just got to think, can we actually accommodate this dog and give them the exercise that they are going to need? Of course you can get a breed that doesn't require as much walking, that's one way around it, but they still need to get out. A dog needs to be outside in nature to have mental stimulation as well as exercise. Next thing to consider, and this was a big one for me, this was a real big kind of shock to the system, and I feel so stupid kind of thinking that we didn't really think about this before we got Hugo, and that is days out. You know, on a Sunday or a Saturday you want to go to Chatsworth for the day, you want to go out to Alton Towers for the day, whatever, you want to go shopping in the city, anything like that. You can't leave your dog alone all day. The longest we leave him alone for, and I don't really like doing it, is about 4 hours, and he's fine. And he just sleeps during that time. But if you just want to take off as a family for a day, that can be quite inhibiting. There are lots of things that you can take dogs to, but in reality, if you get a young bouncy dog like a chocolate Labrador like we have, you don't always want the stress of it, because it can be quite stressful taking a young dog to, say, a picnic or an adventure playground. For example, if we took Hugo to an adventure playground and he could see the kids playing and he was on a lead with us, he would yelp. He would yelp for hours and it would be very irritating. So we do tend to leave him at home unless we're doing like a big walk type day out, which we try and do a bit more often. This was one of the biggest things when we got him that I was like, oh dear, we didn't think this through. So I felt like our weekends for quite a while he settled in were a lot more about just being at home. The next thing to think about is holidays. If you love your holidays, if you love your 2 weeks in Florida or a week in Greece or whatever, you have to factor the dog into that. If you haven't got relatives that will take him, we have got relatives that will take him. However, if they're both away, which they often are, we have to look elsewhere for help. He's never yet been in kennels. I'm looking down because he's here, by the way. We've never yet had to put him in kennels, but we've had conversations with kennel owners and almost had to book him in. Do you want a biscuit? But you have to think about what we're going to do when we go on holiday. Are we going to give him to a relative? Maybe if you're really seriously considering having a dog, think about a relative that you could talk to in advance and say, could you be our holiday dog sitter or something like that. The other thing to think about is the cost. Dogs are expensive. Taking them to the vets is expensive. The food that he gets is £44 every 3 weeks. So I get a local guy who delivers it. He has to have special food because he's got really sensitive tummy and always has the shits basically. He has a really sensitive tummy, so we have to have kind of quite posh big bag delivery every 3 weeks. It's expensive, and also things like ball throwers, leads, it all costs, and the most expensive thing is vet appointments, and you just don't know, you may get a dog that just has inherent health problems. We don't do health insurance because I think overall you probably pay more for the insurance, but that's one to consider. The next thing to think about is other animals, so not just within your own house. We got Hugo when we had 2 little kittens and they were so happy, and then Hugo came and they were so depressed. Now they're best friends. And there's no problem at all, they all get on really well, but to start with they really didn't like Hugo. But you've got to consider your own animals in your own house, but also I would say animals in the wider family. We have a sister-in-law, Adam's brother, and his partner. They've just adopted a really sweet little Jack Russell, and she is a rescue dog, so she has inherent kind of stress issues and things like that. She's not had a very nice life, and actually they're getting on okay now. They've been on a lovely walk recently, but to start with they really didn't get on. So it's really important to think about other animals in the wider family. Maybe think about other members of the family that you might go away to on holiday with. Are your dogs going to get on? Is there a dog in the family that really hates other dogs? We used to have that issue, but actually Hugo was the only dog she ever liked, which was weird, and she was in her dotage then, and then she passed away. But it really is worth considering, because it can be a problem if your parents have a dog that doesn't like other dogs and they're your holiday dog sitting go-to, then that's not going to work. The next thing on the list that I think you should have a think about is your house. Are you super house proud? Have you got white sofas? Probably not if you've got kids, but is your house really neat and tidy? You know, I've got a friend who, she always talks about getting a dog, but she is so house proud, and I'm always like, are you sure? Because, you know, when you first get them, they poo on the floor. I mean, actually the cats are worse. They destroy our sofas with like that claw thing. I think, you know, every time my back is turned, he's on the sofas. It's driving me mad. I mean, he's really cheeky about it. We've got new sofas as well, so I have throws on every single sofa, because as soon as your back's turned, they're on there. And actually, at first you think you're going to be really strict about dogs on sofas, but then you end up kind of, I don't know, getting a bit softer at it. I keep trying to firm up on that issue, but yeah, if you're really house proud, do strongly consider whether you might just get annoyed with the animal. The next thing on the list is poo. You will spend a lot of your life picking up poo if you have a dog, and if that grosses you out and if it makes you retch, then seriously consider not. However, I would caveat that with, it's a weird thing. It's a bit like when you have a baby and you can wipe their poo and not even flinch. When it's your own dog's poo, you kind of don't mind. Picking up other dogs' poo, like, literally makes me want to throw up, but when you're picking up your own dog's poo, for some reason it's not that bad. The next thing to consider is your routine. Do you need to kind of drop the kids off at school at 8:30 and then you need to get straight on it with your emails or whatever, assuming you're self-employed? Whatever your routine is, it has to factor in this new member of the family. So my routine now, I lose an hour at least in the morning. I don't lose it, it's actually one of the best parts of the day when I walk Hugo. As you'll know if you follow me on Insta stories or any of those other things, I'm always walking Hugo. It's like, it's really nice thinking time and stuff, but what I'm trying to say is my routine, my morning can't start until 10 o'clock. So if I ever have a call or a meeting, it has to be, I have to walk Hugo first. Or if anyone wants to meet me for a coffee or whatever, I have to walk Hugo first. You always have to factor that into your routine. It's just something you need to think about, that you're going to lose an hour of your day every day, and if you're already struggling for time, then maybe don't do it. And you have to think about kids, your kids. How is your dog going to fit in around your kids? Have you got a baby that you is still kind of in a pushchair stage? Are they now out of the baby carrier stage? Have you got a toddler? Would a toddler be too heavy to carry for you if you had to walk a dog? How are you going to walk a dog when you've got young children, I guess, is the thing to think about. How are the kids going to feel about walking a dog? If you've got the type of kids that will just walk for miles and miles, like really outdoorsy, like my nephew is like that, then that's great. But actually our kids are quite lazy and they don't really like walking. They're okay if other kids are there, but we do have to drag our kids out to walk Hugo. How are they going to fit into this? Will they step up? Will they help feed the dog? Will they help do all those different things? How are the kids going to fit in around the dog? And the last one that I think you should think about before you get a dog is, where are you going to look for a dog? Are you going to look for a breeder? If so, make sure they're Kennel Club registered. Breeding, you know, pedigree dogs obviously can have inherent health issues. Some people don't really agree with the whole pedigree thing. I don't have a problem with it at all. Just go to a reputable breeder, I guess. They're very expensive from breeders, you know, you're talking like £1,000 sometimes. The other option is a rescue dog, which is what families always like to think, you know, that's a nice thing to do. However, that's what we thought, and then we went around a lot of RSPCA websites and we found a lot of the websites were saying this dog isn't suitable for a home with children under 13. So we didn't actually go through the RSPCA to get our dog. The route we took was somewhere in between, which you might want to consider, but it has its own risks. So we went through Gumtree. We actually got our kittens through Gumtree as well. So in a way, he was rehomed. He's a rehomed dog. There was a picture of him and it said, this is Hugo, he's 4 months old. We absolutely love him to bits, but we can't cope with him, basically. So I went to somewhere in Manchester to pick him up. He was in a really small house, going nuts. They didn't walk him. They couldn't cope with him. They both worked, so that's a forewarning for you there. That's the kind of situation you don't want to be in if you get a big Labrador. So I did pay for Hugo. I paid, I think it was £300 for him. So that's one way of doing it, which is rehoming a dog through the classifieds. However, be really careful when you go and check out a dog in the classifieds. Take someone with you, probably. Phone them first to have a chat with them. Just make sure it's all kosher, because it's obviously really risky going to someone's home if they're advertising a dog or a cat for sale. Somebody has suddenly stood up and he wants to be in the video all of a sudden. Hugo, give me a kiss. Oh yes. Don't worry, I don't let him kiss me on the mouth. How about the other day? Should we tell them the story about the other day when you rolled in rotten badger flesh? The worst smell I have ever. I didn't know that smells could be so bad. It has haunted me ever since. It smelled like death. So that's all for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you are considering getting a dog, do let me know. If you've just got a puppy, do let me know. If you've already got a dog, do let me know. And we're gonna say bye. Hugo, should we say bye? Should we say bye? Yes, biscuit. Oh, bye. Oh, Hugo.